the North Pole, the northern pole of Saturn, is a permanent storm which takes the form of a hexagon. And this has been found by the Cassini spacecraft, and I think the Voyager one before that in the early 80s. And the hexagon also is an expression of the hexagram, or of the six-pointed star. Because all these different symbols that I'm going to talk about now are different expressions of the same frequency state. So you look at this crop circle from England this year, and it is a hexagon. But a hexagon is a flattened out cube. So when you look at it from another angle, it's a cube. Well, it just so happens that an ancient symbol of Saturn is the cube, especially the black cube. And I would suggest that's what they are. The Kaaba, the focus of worship in Islam, Kaaba means cube. The tefillin, the cube on the head in Judaism. And when people go to worship around the Kaaba, they're told to pray in concentric circles. Remind you of anything? And they're told to walk around it, and their energy can be trawled. And if you focus on something that represents Saturn, Saturn is where the energy goes. In Judaism, they have Solomon's temple. Every syllable of Solomon means the sun. And the Holy of Holies in the so-called Solomon's temple was supposed to be a cube. They talk in Revelation about the New Jerusalem in cube terms. There's these massive cubes that they use. This is outside the one of the banks near Wall Street, near where the protests are. And you see these black cubes and cubes like used by Apple and stuff. Saturn symbolism. In Doctor Who, they had this recent one where the Earth was invaded by black cubes. Star Trek, you had the Borg, who were these cyborg-like, exactly as the are described by the Gnostics of the Archons, and they used to move around in these cubes. If you geometrically represent the cross, then it is a flattened out cube. When you look at the depictions of these people, not Lady Gaga, but others, these religious leaders with the halo, well, that comes from Saturn as well, that halo when that luminous crescent was in that position. Astrologically, that's the symbol of Saturn. And what they symbolized this as was the sickle and the hammer. And when the Rothschilds created the Soviet Union, provable fact if you look at the evidence, they used the symbol of Saturn as the symbol of the Soviet Union. There's that symbol on this guy from the Brotherhood of Saturn. The Jesuits are a major secret society in this global network, and there's the symbol of Saturn in their symbolism very bloody clearly. The snake on the cross also relates to this in some ways. Now this is going to take us forward here, because the god of Saturn of the Greeks was called Kronos. And Kronos was, because he was the god Saturn, the sickle, the scythe, was represented as holding the scythe, and also he was depicted as the god of time. And he had the beard, the white beard, and he became Old Father Time. That's Kronos, that's the god of Saturn. He also became the Grim Reaper, because Saturn is the planet, I say, son of death. And Kronos became Crown, a symbol of the bloodlines. Kali, a goddess related to Saturn, it was called the Black One, and the goddess of time, depicted with a protruding tongue. There's Madonna again. I mean, she must have the bloody book she works through, this one. The god El, the Hebrew god El, was their god of Saturn. So El and Elohim are demiurge and archons, I would suggest. So we have archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, another name for Jesus, Emmanuel. We have the Gospels, Chapel, elders, elevated to the priesthood, elections where pawns are elected to serve the elite. We have Isis, Ra, El, all names relating to Saturn. Saturn, Kronos, Satan, Black Sun, Dark Lord, they're all the same thing, the expression of this force. And here you have Moloch. that they worship at Bohemian Grove, and he is a god of Saturn, this recurring theme. They also represent Moloch as a bull, as I said earlier, and so you have that as the symbol of Wall Street. And the golden calf in the Bible is Moloch, Saturn. The Greeks talked about Saturn used to eat his own children. And here's the colours of Satanism and the colours of Saturn, black and red, same as the royal protocol. The robes of the judge, the robes of the clergy, the square hats of the universities, the hammer that the judge uses, it's all Saturn symbolism. You see Saturn profusely used in symbolism of the corporate world. And this Earth, Wind and Fire, they got the bloody set. There's the eye. There's the six-pointed star, there's the step pyramid, there's the winged disc, and there's bloody Saturn. And then, therefore, you look at religions and secret societies and Satanism, they're worshipping Saturn. Then you look astrologically, in other words, energetically. Banking is astrologically ruled by Saturn. Politics and institutions of state at all levels, astrologically ruled by Saturn. Corporations, astrologically ruled by Saturn. Law and court system, astrologically ruled by Saturn. Science, astrologically ruled by Saturn. Saturn worship, Satan worship. And it's interesting that you have the god of Saturn, Kronos, with the beard, and all these bloody religions, they have bloody beards. And then you have God depicted as a man with a white beard on a cloud or on a throne. And there's God, Charlton Heston type God. That's Yahweh depicted with a beard and stuff. And then we have Santa with the white beard. Santa, anagram of Satan, from Saturnalia. Saturnalia was a festival in Rome where they worshipped the god Saturn, and they gave, it was in the same period to the run-up to our Christmas, and they gave gifts, they decorated trees, and they hung sprigs of bloody holly. So that is Saturn symbolism, a man with a white beard. This is Ancient of Days, a painting by William Blake from, I think, 1794 or something like that. Ancient of Days is an old name for God. And he's depicting God. He was a very deep esoteric thinker and great knowledge, William Blake. And he's depicting God with the white beard. That's Saturn, Kronos. On the GE building in the Rockefeller Center in New York, there's Kronos again. Now, the Freemasons, they call their God the great architect of the universe. The demiurge was known by the Gnostics as the great architect of the universe, which brings us to the white-bearded architect of the Matrix, the Matrix movie series. So where is this leading us? Well, again, this needs to go, if we're going to go anywhere with this, because I'm going into fantastic areas here, but this is where the information has taken me very, very clearly. And the hardest thing to see is what is in front of your eyes, as this man rightly said. The Gnostics talked about the fact that the archons make something appear to happen that does not actually happen. They can induce a virtual reality experience. The Islamic people and pre-Islamic people talk about the jinn manipulating humans by creating illusions. I was in New York in 2010, and someone took me to the subway station for Ground Zero. And when I saw it, it was like, whoa, it hit me big time. There was, first of all, these eyes all along the platforms, but there is this massive depiction of the world on the floor, and then there's an eye, and going out from this eye are these broadcast transmissions. And that hit me so powerfully. And Neil Haig was with me, and we kind of looked at each other and said, that's Saturn, isn't it? And remember, physicists have said only this last few days, they may have evidence the universe is a computer simulation. Well, I say that it's a virtual reality, which has been hacked into, and that hack is the reality that we're experiencing, the fake reality. And that hack, I say, comes from Saturn. Because I'm saying that these rings are actually a massive broadcast transmission system